Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa. This is definitely filmed on the same day as the books and bags tag. And, I'm still filming because the sun is still shining. And I've still got my Diet Coke over there. Mostly gone now. But now I am filming another tag. And this one is an original tag by Kelsey Reeds. And she tagged me in it. Which is so cool. This is called the Songbirds and Snakes book tag. And it was inspired by a relatively new prequel to the Hunger Games series of that name. And while I have not watched or read through the entire Hunger Games thing, I have read some bits and I have watched some bits. It's a bit too depressing for me, but I totally get why a lot of people like it. And the reason I'm doing this tag, other than that she tagged me and I'm super grateful, it's also that I really like a lot of the questions and they're just really creative and good and different. And so I want to encourage the spread of this lovely tag. So the first question is a bit hard. That is, dystopian is dead? No way. Recommend a book set in dystopian society. And I don't read much dystopia at all, but there are a few that might qualify. They're kind of on the edges of dystopia. And one of those is Azrian Skies by Ann Wheeler. She is a self-published author. She is primarily actually a pilot. She pilots airplanes in the US military, and after doing that for a long time she decided she also wants to write. And so the main character of Azrian Skies is someone who is the princess of a planet, because this is a space opera sci-fi, and we go along with this princess as she deals with the fact that her homeworld has been taken over by these Hiberians or Hibernians. Anyway, they're space bad guys with a big empire and they like to take things over. And so on her planet it kind of becomes a bit dystopian because they are occupied by a foreign power that kind of does the usual dystopian thing of they push down the regular people and they suppress the media. And so our main character is trying to deal with this, sometimes politically trying to help out and sometimes being a full underground rebel. And so that is Azrian Skies. It's a trilogy, I think. I have not read book 2 or 3. And the other kind of dystopia-ish type thing is one again where it's not our world that has become dystopian, it's this other world that a bunch of humans went and settled, but they didn't get along very well with the planet, and so they went and lived in domes. And within these domes, and also within the people who have to live outside the domes because they don't fit in well to the dome society, there's a lot of secrets and the government is in control of everything, and they like assassinate people who are doing things they don't like, and information is withheld, and it's super creepy. So that's a little dystopian. Jumping off from that, I have watched an actual dystopian TV show that reminded me of, because it's about people living in a dome, and that's Power Rangers RPM, which is about robots taking over the world, and then everybody has to live in this dome. And I really liked it because, of course, in this dystopia there's a happy ending and they eventually defeat the robots, whereas in a lot of dystopian literature you don't ever actually beat the bad guys. I think in Hunger Games you do, but not in a lot of dystopia, which is why I don't read it that much. I require a happy ending. But go anybody who does like dystopia, and I definitely don't think that the genre is dead. That was a very long answer, but anyway, number 2 is Volunteer as Tribute. If you could swap places with a main character in any book and take on the burden of their story, which would you choose? Now I'm going to bring up a few that I would definitely not choose because despite the fact that I love them as stories, I would not want to be in them. One of those is the Del Toro Quest books, which, I love enough and I love the world enough and the characters, you'd think I want to be there. But see, a thing required for staying alive in Del Toro because of all the nasty creatures that live there and, various other bad things going on, you need to be athletic. A lot of the problems are solved with brains, but they are also almost always require the main characters to be athletic. We've got a strong man, an agile lady, and a fast dude, and they have to run away a lot, and they have to jump places and fight things physically, and I love to kick things and run and jump, but I can only do it for 5 minutes. I tire very quickly. I'm chronically ill. So that would not be a good quest for me to go on, the Del Toro quest. I would fail epically. Another one I like a lot but would not do well in, Temeraire. I brought this up in my fears video, where the people in that book ride on dragons and I'm scared of heights. That would not work out well. But one that I would actually work well in, for one, Narnia, because that is about little pathetic kids going and making a big difference in this magical world. And I would freaking love to meet Aslan. That would be the best thing ever. And I feel like any athleticism required in that would be, you know, okay, because like little 12-year-olds could do it. And then Uprooted, because if I got to be the servant for a pretty nice person in a big castle all by myself, just me and him, once again, this is required that he's a nice person, and I got to use his library at will and I never had to talk to anybody ever, that would go really well for me. Also, most of her problems are solved with magic. She almost never does anything that requires being physically strong. That is also me. Number 3 is Peeta or Gale. How about neither? Name a book with a romance you could have done without, or a book where the MC would have been better off alone. And when she is bringing up this question, Kelsey actually brings up that there are some theories that Katniss might be ace or aro, which is asexual or aromantic, and how cool that would be. And she linked a thread about it in her video description. So as I link her original video down in my description, you should also go check out that thread because it's really cool. But I'm actually a big fan of romance. Despite being asexual, I am hetero-romantic, and romances in books make me feel really good. But there have been a number where I'm like, can these people just be platonic friends? That would work so well here. So well. And I don't have any books for this particularly, but I do have a lot of shows. Because for me, it feels like it happens more often in TV shows and movies, where the writers really feel like they have to put a romance in, even though it's super not organic, because like it'll make people watch it. One of those is Captain America and all of his love interests. I'm not a super steggy fan. I mean, I like her a lot. I think she's awesome, but I think that the romance she gets with her guy in her own show is a lot more organic and makes more sense than the one she had with Steve. And while I like the lady he meets in his second movie, Winter Soldier, he's fine being single. He didn't need anybody. He didn't, that wasn't necessary. It just wasn't. And another thing is the Sherlock. One, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I personally find Holmes and Watson's platonic relationship to be really meaningful to me, and I don't appreciate people trying to take that away just so they can have a gay relationship, which I recognize that there needs to be more representation for gay relationships, but there also needs to be more representation of platonic relationships that are really strong. Thank you very much. And what's even worse is when they decided to give him this stupid relationship with this woman in the end, and when he could have been canonically ace. Like, you could have just let us have that. You could have just let us, you didn't even have to say it. You could have just let it be like he never had a romantic or a sexual relationship. He could have just been that. You could have just left it and had us all have this beautiful thing, but no, you had to go and do that. Number 4 is, let's get this bread. Name a fictional career you would love to have. Okay, we've established I want to be a potion maker. We've established that. I would not want to be a dragon rider, as previously stated. I mean, it'd be super cool to be around dragons, but the heights I could not handle. I would also really love to be a mage. Just anybody with magic could make things float around. Levitation specifically would be super useful. Like, if I could be a Harry Potter witch, and I could only have one spell, I would have it be Wingardium Leviosa, so I could pick things up from across the room and bring them to me without me getting up. That is what I would do. Either a witch or a potion maker. 5 is The Victors. Pick 2 characters from different books that would be from the same district and end up winning the games together. Let's do a mage pair and a non-magic pair. So the magic pair would be Agnieszka from Uprooted, along with whatever the girl's name is in the Turn of Light. Peg? No, that's her sister's name. Anyway, those two kind of have similar ways of discovering magic. It's very internal and it doesn't go by the books, and they're very strong women but also very sensitive, and I think they would just get on really well and they could totally take over the world together. Now my non-magic pair would be Jane from the Temeraire series, who I raved about both in talking just about the Temeraire series in my 25-minute video about those books, and also in the Phenomenal Females book tag, which, by the way, if you haven't watched, you really should, because it's a really good book tag, but I did it back when most of y'all weren't following me, so y'all haven't seen it, and you should. But anyway, her and Eve Dallas from the J.D. Robb series are both more mature women who have seen a lot, and they're both leaders. They have command over other people, and they're both very good bosses, and they both have great senses of humor, so I think they would also get along very well, and they're total badasses and would totally also be able to take over the world together, on top of being able to win the games. Then we have number 6, the Mockingjay. Pick a character from a book you feel could fill Katniss's shoes as a Mockingjay to help lead the rebels. Now this one's a little bit harder for me because I don't know as much about the Hunger Games books, so I know that Katniss's role as a Mockingjay is more than just a leader or a military strategist or a physically strong person. I know that she's also sort of a figurehead and a symbol to people that doesn't necessarily reflect who she is as much as what she is. That's not a very good explanation, but I know it's kind of complicated and I know that I don't know the details. But I will do my best. But for that, I think I would pick Fireheart from the Warrior series. The way one's over there with the cats on. If the rebels were cats or if Fireheart was a human, he's very good at leading people and he's very good with strategy and with diplomacy. Very good at leading people. He's good at leading cats. It's fiction about cats. But he is also inspirational, and the other characters in the books take a lot of courage from him. Number 7 is Cinna, Prim, Rue, Finnick, Cressida, Pollux. There are so many great side characters in the Hunger Games. Name a side character in any book that you would love a whole series about. Well, for one, there is Jane. I would love a whole series about Jane. As I mentioned earlier from the Temeraire series, she's not in it nearly enough, but I love every time she's in it. There's also Silas from Sorcery of Thorns. I would read a whole series about him. There's also Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle, which I've said in the past he's very similar to Silas. I would read a whole series about him. I would read a whole series about any Lord of the Rings character, preferably written by Tolkien, but with an editor who could tell him how to cut things. Number 8 is The Arena. There have been 75 Hunger Games, all with different settings and challenges. Name a book with a super immersive setting. Warriors. The Warrior series has an immersive setting. I really like to go there. Del Toro has an immersive setting, but that might be saying with Warriors because I'm nostalgic about it, and I sort of slip into my old imagination that I had when I was a kid when I read those. The Golden One, which is part of the series of Amelia Peabody mysteries, I felt like really described Egypt well and Egyptology and like what was going on, and so I felt like I was really in another country and like I could really kind of feel how these characters felt being here and what it was like to engage with this culture and stuff like that. Then we have 9, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. If you could choose one book to get a prequel written about it, which would you choose? A prequel. Prequels are hard because unlike sequels, they're not, getting back with your favorite characters. It's like setting up backstory for your favorite characters, which isn't always great. But maybe A Turn of Light, because that has a lot of background stuff that they talk about, but we didn't actually get to see happen, and is very exciting. And so I think a full book could be written about that. Then, who am I gonna tag? I don't know. I will put it in the description, but I'm running out of memory on this card. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Kelsey, for tagging me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Someone is helping me edit.